YouTube Nation here. Got another video here. But been freaking pounding my mind since last night. Due to watching a documentary on the Boston Strangler. Now, the story has kind of mesmerized me and kind of sucked me in because due to the fact that of a poem, and the date of this poem was written, and around the time and the month and the year of when the Boston Strangler was actually murdered in jail. Now, between 1964 and 1972, or the beginning of 1973, the Boston Strangler supposedly killed at least 14 women. And in his jailhouse interviews, he told and admitted and did his thing, and they have him on recording with tapes and stuff. But there is a twist to this story, and I think the reason why they put this documentary up is due to the fact that two of the women, the last two women I believe it was, were not murdered by him. Now, it raises suspicion to the authorities and stuff of the time. There are still people still alive. If you get to watch that documentary, I advise you watch it. But one of the victims' mother, I believe it was, and the actually did an interview of how he was of how was his nephew or something. I don't know. It was something to do. I usually watch TV shows. I gotta at least watch it a couple times for me to remember everything in it. I tried to, but it don't work the first time. But he was a family member, and finding out that the Boston Strangler did not kill his relative, I'll say, put perspective on another woman before her, and she, I think, was cleared of murder of him. So there was 2 women there out of 14, 13 women that were not murdered by him. But there was a woman that he did murder that did match up the crime scene, I guess. And that's why they suspected he did the rest. Now, I think one of the murders was said to believe been done by a rich husband, and that the wife was cheating on him. He found out and he killed her. But the Boston Strangler got into that ordeal, and I think that might have been one of the 2 women that wasn't murdered by him. But the twist of the story is that on November 25th, 1973, he had an interview with one of the investigators of the time. The investigator was on his way there. He made it to Walpole Prison. He did make it to Bridgewater, as he wanted to be evaluated and tested and to find out why he did this stuff. But the insanity that they said started to get to him of sitting in that one room. And so he escaped. So when they caught him 3 days later, he actually turned himself in because he was all over the news, I guess. And there was a reward wanted, dead or alive, and I guess this guy didn't want to die yet. But ends up the Walpole. The investigator was on his way. And before the investigator got there, the Boston Strangler, which I can't remember his goddamn name for the life of me. It was a Defoe, not Defoe. Defoe was the Amityville horror guy. DeSnero or something. Albert was, I think, his first name. They called him Al or whatever. But if you look him up, I'm sure they'll have the name, so forth. But Al, I'll call him, got murdered, and they found out that he was drugged before that stabbing. So obviously they did that. Of course, probably they knew he would fight back. Yeah, I've been in jail for a year myself. I did time. And there wasn't a night or a day or a moment that when I fell asleep, I actually fell asleep with my eyes open. And it's true. It happens. If you don't feel safe in some place, your eyes are, they're like this. Yeah, I could sleep that way with my eyes just a crack open. Freak myself out that I did it, heard of it, but yeah. So I'm sure they knew he would have fought back, and so they drugged him, killed him, stabbed him to death in the stomach. Just before he's going to do that interview. So I'm about to wonder, in my thoughts and theories, just mine, this ain't the actual thing. The guy who did the murder was involved with the mafia. I think this guy might have had also the Boston Strangler ties with the mafia and got caught up in something, and all these random killings are going around, or if he did do it, or if he did do it, didn't do it, whatever the case may be, he was a pawn, and yeah, he got caught up in something deep. And the interview was supposed to tell the investigator of why he killed these women, or what made him do it, pretty much. And he was probably going to tell him, well, this person or that one. So yeah, they shanked him and got rid of him. Now this story takes into a whole new twist in my case. Because not only that poem and him being in jail, and then there was another murderer out there. The poem ended with, I believe it goes, and I quote, with the people, like something with the people in doubt. In doubt. Is he in jail or is he out? And that was the end of the poem. Is he in jail or is he out? So there was 2 murders that he knew that he did not do, but probably knew the murderer. And that's why he got shanked. And so all this happened in 1973. But what really gets me is that also in 1973, between June or July, which was a place I'm going to be going for haunted places in Mass, a video I got coming up when I get out there. But there was a woman that was stabbed with her daughter to death. And then from that one in Rutland, Mass, there was a Townsend killing in September 10th, I believe it was. That woman was killed in 1973. Another woman in Fitchburg with a daughter was killed in 1973, and a son. I did do that video in a house of a location, but that was on Intervale Street in Fitchburg, Mass. But I forgot to say that she had a daughter and a son was left living. But even though the similarities they say in that case, which is in the unsolved cases in Massachusetts or something, you can look that up too if you want to find out about all 5 women that were killed in this area, Fitchburg, Townsend area. You'd have to do the unsolved cases, and just press in Townsend woman, a Townsend teacher, woman murdered, or something in that, and that should come right up. But what strikes me odd and very suspicious, and to give me new light, is that between June, July, whatever that Rutland murder was, up until February of 74, Now remember, the Boston Strangler was in jail in 1973. And then they had doubts when they dug up them bodies, and there was a murder that led to a killer's DNA, but he died in jail. They had the DNA from him, but he died in jail in 2011. Killed a woman in Gardner, 1973. That one too was in 1973. I looked that up, including it was all over the news. If you hadn't seen it in this area, but it's like, damn. Oh no, excuse me, sorry, that was 1983, that woman died in Gardner. But it only goes to show the people with doubt, am I in jail or am I out? If he knew there was another person doing this, covering up for him, or a copycat, or whatever it may be, what if that person that did kill while he was in jail, is he the one that did these other murders throughout the Massachusetts area? But they claim, one guy claimed that, oh, the Boston Strangler was in jail, and the murders stopped. But whatever, how can I say this? However it was, the new murders being done with a knife, I can honestly say that maybe they took a twist and did it differently. So yeah, they would make it look like the Boston Strangler was the one. So everything stopped. Some of my thoughts and theories. And from July 73 up till 74, and then 83, that woman comes out with, it just boggles the mind. If that person was still out while the Boston Strangler was in jail, and they say, that he was in jail and then last two murders occurred. Right. The real murderer twisted it around and did something different, in my eyes. So I mean, it's just, you can go on all day with different theories on the story. I'm putting two to two together. And to me, it's just, it's just friggin', could that guy in 2011 that died could have been the substitute murderer of the Boston Strangler? Everything comes in. Even though they did say they had other suspects at the time of the Rutland murder. But you gotta think. You gotta expand your mind. And even though the police said back in 73 with the Towns and Fitchburg murders that everything was similar, but they thought that the person wasn't the same. But to get the commotion off that person, of course they got to change it up and do something different. So that's why I had a reason to believe that, knowing that the Strangler was in there and he used them for so long as a pawn, well, there you go. He had to change up and do something different. So that one guy said, oh, he was in jail, the murders stopped. But There was two of them. I think the second one twisted it around and started doing other things. So who knows how many more murders will come up of women stabbed, raped, and that's what the other women were strangled. They were strangled but raped. But right, the original murderer or two murderers or whoever was doing, even if they were trying to do a competition, who can do more women or screw or do or whatever it may be, and then one was gonna rat one out, but bang, he's dead. A lot of thought and theories that go about this story and of the time and the dates, and it just seems to me, and how crazy as it seems, yeah. There was another man out there doing the same thing he was, but wanted to twist it up a bit and maybe came forth this way, Fitchburg, Townsend, Rutland, Gardner way, and killed up until 1983. Fucking crazy how things evolve in the world, which shit's been going on for fucking eons since Jack the fucking Ripper. And even at that, I read an article on Henry Howard Holmes, I believe, and he was an American man that they claim could have been Jack the Ripper. He was considered the first serial killer of all time, and at the dates that he was around 1883 or whatever it was that Jack the Ripper was around, he was in England at the time of them murders. So, and he's a guy that preyed on rich women or prostitutes too, and killed them for their money or whatever they had. So I mean, everybody's follows everything and does, whether it be a copycat or someone that just worships that person that walked the earth. It continues to go on, and it just baffles my mind how some of these pricks just still walk and keep going. But I don't know, I just wanted to throw that out there. There's a lot of investigation I'm doing on this now, and I'm looking into a lot of stuff. But could the Boston Strangler, if it was the original that got murdered in jail of Al, or was it someone else and Al was covering up for him because he had no choice? Back then in the mob days, you disobey, yeah, like any gang, you disobey, you get shot, you get killed. But I mean, if you're doing petty shit like that, though, it's just, that's the concept of the story I like to finish off saying, but it's just the concept of, it was stupid, senseless murders. It wasn't like they were getting billions of dollars from these people. It was like they had an addiction and a kick, so they did it. But it's just one unsolved mystery that two of them were solved, two women were murdered, but not by the Boston Strangler. And it's just something you like to have be solved, like any unsolved case. But who knows? If they take DNA from that guy from 2011 and bring it to the Rutland, maybe he was the murderer of that woman too. Rutland, Gardner area, 10-year span. You guys go on forever if they can. And if they can get away with it back in them days, they didn't have forensics and all that, so yep. It was a good time back then to do what you're gonna do with your dirty deeds, cause oh yeah, you get away with murder. I mean, sometimes people still get away with murder. O.J. Simpson, Casey Anthony, scumbags like that. But I like to be on the trail of something and figure it out and solve it, and who knows, all this. Anyways, until the next video, I'm gonna be out. More stuff coming up. Be there or be square. See ya.